Having trouble with your wipers and your OBS? Well, it could be a couple of issues causing it. A lot of times the little module that fits on the front of the wiper motor can be replaced. It's about $12 to $15 and that'll fix your issues. But if it's more than that and you need a whole new motor like I did, it's a little bit more involved to put it in. It's not difficult. It is a bit tedious. And if you've never done it before, I wanted to show you a few little things that will help make it a little easier for you. First of all, if the hood is off the truck, makes it way easier. But you can do it with it on there as well. That's how I had to do it. To begin with, there are several pieces of trim. Let me show you what they look like. These are the pieces of trim that go on the edge. Each side has this piece, and there's one screw holding it on. The main piece of trim under here is this long piece, and it is held on by 8 screws. Now 4 are kind of obvious and 4 are not. If you pull it down, the plastic, you can see there's a hole here on the end, and that matches up with this hole in the sheet metal. If you come along this way, there is another screw. Oh, right there. That hole. A little bit further down, one more up there, and one on the end. So there's the 4 that are pretty simple. You can access these pretty easily with the hood open. And I removed the piece of rubber trim molding that was on the back here just to make it more accessible. Now the 4 screws that are less obvious, and they're harder to see, but if you look in the grill, you'll notice there's a spot right here where there's a hole. Got 4 of those. But if you lift up the trim, you can kind of see where they belong. There's a hole in the sheet metal for that one. The second one is right next to the passenger wiper motor, a wiper arm, I should say. Another one just to the driver's side of that, and then one more right there. So those 4 are less obvious, a little harder to get to, or to even notice that they're there. And to get those, I just use the short stubby Phillips. It worked for all of them. You do have to wiggle those corner pieces out from behind the hood here. They're a little more difficult to get out, but they come out pretty good. You just want to be careful, take your time, and don't break your trim. Like I said, if the hood was off, this whole thing would come off. It'd be much easier, but you're able to kind of work it back and forth and get this up out of the way. Now, I did not disconnect my windshield wiper washer hoses because there's a plastic T-piece here holding the lines together, and I was afraid if I disconnected this or tried to, I might break that fitting, and then that's a whole new project, and I really need this to work now. So the motor, I've already installed the new one. The old one is held in place by 3 10mm bolts, real easy to access, and 1 electrical plug. So the removal is very simple. And when your wipers are in the off position, it automatically defaults to the inside arm being in this position. So the new one is just the same way. On the little shaft here, you can see there's 2 rounded portions. This is where internal clamps squeeze on these. This squeezes for the passenger side. This squeezes for the driver's side. When I reassemble the wiper arms in here, I'll put the light in there and I'll show you how I do that. Another small trick just to make sure you don't damage your wiper arm. Your arms come up and kind of hold in a 90-degree angle, and there's a clip on the back. It looks like this, and you can see if you slide it out like that, it opens up and these literally pull right off. And they have a notch on the inside. You can see right there, so they clock. So you don't have to worry about, they will line up correctly in the first place. And once they both line up correctly, then with the way that this arm is automatically clocked inside, once you've mounted it. Okay, let me get it set up so I can connect the wiper arms, and I'll be able to show you a little bit more detail about how those go together. And I'm mounting the wipers. And there is an adjustment. See how I can turn one and not the other? Well, here, I'll show you what I did to do that. I push the trim. The trim is under the hood. But looking down in here, you can see where they attach, and you can see there is a level of movement that you can get to even your blades up. So my blades are even right there. That's where I'm going to snug them up at. And then I can take my arms off, put the trim back on, and it'll be right. So be sure before you tighten the arms up and put your trim back on to lower your trim to get it out of the way so you can put your arms back on like this and get them in alignment the way you want them to be on the windshield, because they will adjust right here. And now I can go ahead and snug these up. Like I said, I'm not torquing them down by any means, but they are going to be snug. They don't fit extremely tight, but I didn't realize that earlier. I should have noticed that. Okay, now they're on there pretty snug, so they should work in unison, and they are even on the windshield. So now we'll put the trim back on. Everything should line up properly and function properly. But we'll give it a test before we go any further, just to be sure they stay where they're supposed to stay. We'll turn the wipers on and see what happens. Okay, the wipers are even now. Now it's safe to put the trim back on and put it all back together. That wasn't so bad, was it? Now you know what to do in case you have a problem. Hope you learned something. See you in the next video.